As always, it's my pleasure to introduce my co-host, Craig Yace and Scott Benson. What's up, fellas?
Hey, how's it going? I'm gonna get down to your level here. There we go.
My level. Hold on. Is that a dig at Ted or Scott? What does that mean, Craig?
Not a dig. Just we just want the head.
Oh yeah, so we're leveled out here. I got it. Looks good. Looks good.
Know what's the interesting thing about this is, Craig. We're all in different spots. We've never met in person. I've got no idea if you're 5'4", if you're 6'2". I mean, Scott and I are both pushing 6'3". Craig, how tall are you? I'm just curious.
5'11" '3/4 when I was in my high school days. So I don't know where I am now.
Wait, hold on. Does that include the faux hawk?
Oh, no, man. That gave me another, what? I don't know, 8.
You were at least 6'5", right?
Yeah, 6'5".
So how's Corona, California? How are you today, Craig?
Corona's great, man. Boy, I've got lots of activity coming in. However, we're down from, remember a couple of weeks ago, we were at 190 homes on the market.
Yep.
We're down to like 158, I think, 158 homes. So that's inventory shrinking, not shrieking. That might be another episode, but inventory is shrinking, which means that, the good homes are just going fast, man. You can't keep them on the shelves.
Wow. Amazing. Craig, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a place? I have a buyer that I'm going to send over to you.
Oh, thanks.
He wants to live 45 minutes from Disneyland, maybe less than an hour to Huntington Beach, maybe just over an hour to Palm Desert, Palm Springs. You know a place that you might want to go to?
Let me think about that.
There's one answer.
Corona.
That's it. Corona, California is it. That's the spot. People don't know that Corona is a hidden gem. Of course, not anymore because we keep talking about it. But I mean, right. I did not know about Corona until I met you, Craig. And it's really opened my eyes to, like, look, if I was to go back to California, which I won't, but if I did, California, you're going to make anywhere home. Make Corona, California your home, right? Make Corona home.
coronahome.com.
Hey, Craig, I saw your Desi post, right?
Yeah.
And which was, number one, very cool, and it was great to hear. It was great to hear the story. It's wild to me that his house has been moved.
I know, 42 or 4,400 square feet. It's crazy.
I mean, that was not a small home to begin with. I thought it was, the architecture of it was very cool, right? The way he had designed it and laid it out. And, it very much had that ranch feel. But for those of you that haven't, you should check out Craig's social media post on it, because there's some great pictures of Desi's home that he designed himself. I think that's very cool.
Super cool. And it was designed like his house in Cuba that he grew up in. I'm sure it was on a larger scale. Yes.
So,
well, and Craig, props to you for having your haircut like Desi Arnaz today for the conversation. So
there we go.
I got in this morning.
That's it. Okay, the most anticipated, the most exciting part of our show. One of us learned to ski by somebody wearing a sombrero.
Wow.
Wait. They don't have snow in Mexico.
Well, a sombrero is limited.
Well, and do we know if it's water skiing or snow skiing?
Oh,
that's true.
Did
you know that another name for sombrero? No, wait. Sombrero's never mind. I'm stepping all over this. Sombrero's a hat, right?
Yeah.
I was thinking
it's kind of a hat.
I was thinking about a poncho.
Okay.
So, all right. One of us was an early I don't say inventor, not inventor, an early podcaster. This person was early on the podcast rage back in 2012. And it still exists today.
Wait a minute. Okay. Is Adam Carolla or who's the other big guy?
You got Joe Rogan. You got Adam Rogan.
Are they on your podcast? Are they on our live stream today?
You might be surprised.
Joe might join us later today. We'll see.
That's it. Yeah. That's it. And lastly, one of us No, we're definitely not doing that.
No.
One of us was part of or affected by the Jesus movement. Did I get that right? I think I got it right. I can't. We'll clarify at the end of the show.
All right, so we know it's not you. So that's either Craig
or is that my way of tricking you guys? Come on.
I know.
You do it all the time.
That's it. And again, Craig, your eyes are distractingly blue today. It's a new camera, man. It matches my jacket. Like I'm going to send my jacket to you.
Hey, I went with the TED shirt today. It's kind of cool, but I wear t-shirts, so I can't like do the, yeah.
I'm telling you, and I have the Scott on. I got the V-neck on today. And Craig, nice job on those outtakes, by the way. Those are hilarious.
Thank you.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing more of those. Yeah, those are fun. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, that's our show. No.
Well, I want to tell Greg about this new DSCR thing that I found out about, and yeah, because it's kind of cool.
Awesome.
Because I know you're dealing with some investors, and investors a lot of times have multiple rental properties, and I had a group that I was working with, and they were looking to pull out monies from multiple properties because they needed to. No one property was going to give them the incremental funds they needed to close on this bigger property. Anyway, there is a lender that just very recently came out with a single DSCR loan that you can put up to 25 properties into.
Oh my gosh.
And, as a reminder, DSCR is not income dependent, right? It's all driven based upon the revenue stream of the properties. So the borrower in this case, as long as they have a decent credit score and their properties are cash flowing, they can apply for this loan. And this particular lender happens to be one of, if not the most cost-effective DSCR lender. So they're a low-cost lender. They've got extraordinarily low closing costs, so low rates and low closing costs, which is a very rare combination to have. You do have to have all your ducks in a row in terms of getting all the information in to their processing, because they are very efficiently run kind of organization. But it's a great loan. You can get up to $6.25 million out with up to 25 properties. And if you had 50 properties, you just have to take 2 loans, right? But it's a great program, and it's a great way for investors then to consolidate, make it into one simple payment. They also kind of spread out the risk. That's also why the lender is doing it, because they feel like it broadens the portfolio on their side, even though it's all from one borrower. And it's a great program if somebody needs to combine multiple properties to be able to pull out the cash they need to move quickly on an investment property. So anyway, something that's out there, and it's kind of unique. And I wanted to make sure that, Craig, you knew about it, and our audience.
Thank you. Hey, and so it sounds like you could buy half a property on the Newport coast.
A garage, actually. One garage.
Or 9 properties in Corona. So
yeah. Yes.
If you can find 9 properties for selling Corona, that's the challenge.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So you know what's interesting, Craig, is that as the show continues to go, the inventory goes lower. I think we're influencing the amount of people buying in Corona.
Yeah.
Clearly, it's right there. There's stats to support it.
Look, you can't lie with numbers. Numbers tell the truth every single time.
Exactly. So, Craig.
Yeah.
Tell us about a unique community or somewhere interesting in Corona.
If you want to talk about being close to everything, and I think I mentioned it before, but Sierra del Oro, it's kind of a little section of its own. And Sierra del Oro is the closest place to Orange County, LA County. In fact, you could get to Newport Beach, not Huntington. Huntington's a little further down the coast, or up the coast rather. But Newport Beach, you're there in 20-25 minutes.
That's great.
Yeah, it's a really, really cool spot. Good mix of homes there. You know, it's really weird. Most of the homes there were built between, and I say most of, I mean, there's some that were built in the 90s and the 2000s. Most were built between 86 and 88. So You had look at that section. You had this whole hill that was just whoop. All of a sudden, it just popped up.
So where? Show me, Craig. I see Sierra del Oro Apartments.
Okay.
If I had to move my cursor over where we're talking about, where are we talking about?
So you see the Ralphs.
Yes.
Grab the Ralphs and pull the map to the right. And the first exit, if you can, I don't know if you can see an exit, but
Surf Club Drive.
Pull it the other way.
Okay.
So the first exit is Green River Road.
Green River Road.
Yeah.
Why am I not seeing? Oh, I see it. There it is.
Yeah. Keep it. Yeah.
It's right there next to Ralph's. Oh, Green River Road. That's right here. Okay.
Yeah. So the downside of the area is that little shopping center is about all you have. You've got a Bank of America, Ralph's, little coffee shop, Jack in the Box, and that's about it as far as shopping goes. You would have to go 2 exits into Orange County to get really big shopping. Oh, it's Chase now. It used to be Bank of America. Or maybe it was always Chase. I don't know. But it's a beautiful area. Lots of lush green trees and hills and just super, super cool. Pricing tends to be a little bit higher than the rest of Corona because it's so close to Orange County. And the closer you are to Orange and LA County, it's where the jobs are, the higher the pricing is going to be. Cool thing is,
yep.
Next week, we'll talk about South Corona, which is 7 miles from there. And it's not a really bad drive. And so if you want to save $80,000 to $100,000, you just go a little bit more inland. And anyway, we'll talk about that a little bit later.
So what's the average range, Craig, there in the SFR, single family home, family of 4 could live in? What are we talking about? What's the range?
You're going to be in the 8s on the low end. And a very common price range right now is like the low 1 million, 1.1, $1.2 million. It is nestled right in the Cleveland National Forest, which is really, really cool.
Well, that means you've got eligibility for FHA loans. So if you had a limited down, I believe. I mean, what's
FHA? Well, so Corona, because it's still it's Riverside County, it might be just outside that range, right?
You know what? Let me check. FHA loan limit.
I know they went up, and I don't remember what they went up to in Riverside County. And the bummer about Corona is that price is higher than much of the rest of Riverside County. So we're kind of stuck in a quagmire with a lot of these homes. As far as loan limits go. How much?
644 in Corona and in Riverside County.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and then the FHFA limit is 726, right?
That's your performing loan limit. Yep.
Yeah.
Conventional.
So a little bit out based upon if it's $800,000 for the kind of the low end, but yeah, we're getting close.
We've always been slighted by, every time they've increased. By the way, I remember 2003. They increased FHA, I think, to 234,000, and we're like, "Oh man, you can't buy a house in Corona for that,"
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because I mean, and quite honestly, the numbers I've got for LA County, like if you were buying anything near me, it's you can't get anything. You can't get for a couple, you can't get something that could possibly get you an FHA loan. So,
right.
Yeah.
Yep.
But interesting how they set the numbers. I don't know what the math is they use. New math. It must be new math.
New math. Absolutely. And I wish they would annex Corona into Orange County. We could at least benefit from, you could buy $1 million house there with the down payment that you need, right? With 3.5% down.
Yeah. Then it would work.
Yeah.
Then it would work.
Yeah.
So, Ted looks like he is.
I'm mesmerized by the map. I'm looking at Corona and I'm just, because I spent a lot of time in my childhood and different stages going to LA, or the LA area, and I call LA everything in LA. So Glendora is where my family's from. I call that LA.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm looking
at
right. What's that?
It's LA County, right? Glendora.
I believe it. It's San Bernardino. Is it? Yeah, it might be LA County still. I don't know. I was a kid. Who knew about that crap? But I just find it interesting. Like I was looking at Norco. At one point, I owned a NutriShop and I trained at Norco. So all these little memories of being down there, but I never made it to Corona. I've never actually driven down through Corona. And I'm looking at it like, how do I not know this place that is so close to Anaheim? I mean, it really is a neat little, just right in that little corner there, behind the valley, hidden little gem of places to live. It's really, I guess I'm just getting excited about the whole talk of Corona.
And it's really wild. In the 80s, I'm dating myself now, but I was working for AirTouch. So actually, it was Pactel Cellular became AirTouch.
Yep.
But while it was AirTouch, I remember a guy who I'd never heard of Corona back then. I grew up, I lived in Lakewood. We moved to Tustin, and that's all that I knew. And, and this guy had bought his first house in Corona in Sierra del Oro. It was probably 87, 88. And he paid, I don't know, $175,000 for this house. And everything else was, mid to high twos in Orange County, probably. Yeah, somewhere around there. And as the market expands, right, people start going farther out.
Mm-hmm.
So like, this is funny. I worked with a lady who at the time, and again, this was 20 years ago, she had been in real estate for 30 years at that time.
Wow.
She was selling new homes in Costa Mesa when she first started in real estate. And, people come in and they go, wow, these homes are $80,000. Where in the heck, or whatever they were, where do I get the $30,000 or $40,000 homes? And she'd go, oh, you have to go to Yorba Linda. All the way out there, but Yorba Linda's now, you can't touch anything for, $1.5 to $2 million there. But that was one of the expansions, right? People would push out a little bit farther. And then when the market contracts, we have, recession. People go, oh, I'm not driving that far anymore because gas is $1.10 a gallon now, or it was back then, right? So people this guy had abandoned his house in Corona, let it just go back to the bank so he could move closer to work because he wasn't going to spend all the money in, air conditioning and heating and gasoline and all that kind of stuff. And so we always see that. We've seen, the market push out beyond Corona and down the 15. And so it continues to do that. But, this one area has, the values have just gone up. I don't know where I was going with that, but anyway, great area, and the values stay strong because they're so close to Orange County, where the jobs are. I think that's what the point was.
Nice. I got an interesting stat for you guys today. I saw it this morning.
Cool.
Since 1941, can you guys guess how many years that we saw negative appreciation? So
negative.
I guess, yeah. So the price went backwards, not up, forward.
3 years.
Okay. Now we're gonna do like Price is Right. You if you go over, then you lose, but you can be under by $1.
All right.
I'm going to say 18 months or less, but 18 months the most.
Okay.
Oh, wait. Are you saying the number of months or the number
of years that we saw a market where the houses went down, not up?
Year over year, down, not up. Yeah, I say 3.
I'm actually going to guess that this is a trick question, that they actually went up, but go ahead.
Okay. So your guess is in the months, not years, Craig?
18 months.
Okay. So Scott, you're the winner.
Wow.
73 years that we've had positive. We had 7 years where it went down. 1 year was neutral. Wow. And so here's the big crash. All right. And then we saw a little bit here. But outside of that, since 1941, we've seen consistent growth in the real estate market.
Well, and if you look at, again, going back to all the research that we've done, all the studies that we've done, if you look at the cash on cash returns,
yep.
And this is when people leverage their investment properties with loans, you're looking at consistent returns of 18 to 25% annualized. And that far and away surpasses the stock market. And especially when you take into account the depreciation savings on your taxes, so the tax benefits associated with getting into it. And that's why, every time we speak to a borrower, and anytime we know that someone's been in their home for more than a couple of years, we want to start that discussion with them about ways in which they can use that equity that they built up to get into investment properties, because it is a phenomenal product. And there was an interesting stat that was in the Wall Street Journal a couple of days ago, and it was saying that there has been no time in our history where more families have made more than $150,000 a year and been in rental properties. Basically what they're saying is there's an extraordinary number of people that can afford to buy a home that are actually renting a home. Now, behind that statistic is the fact that a lot of the people that are renting a home are renting a home that is of the size or the quality or the location that they could not afford to purchase. And so they're not willing to move into a smaller home or be in a more remote area that would allow them to buy a home. So instead they're renting. But that also means there's a tremendous opportunity for those people that are renting now to buy. And if they, I think about people that are in expensive areas like Redondo Beach, right? There are a lot of people that might be doing really well but can't afford to buy a home here. Well, what they should look at is buying a home in a more affordable area, renting it out, and then they still get the depreciation. Matter of fact, the depreciation expense they get because it's a rental property, and they still get to hold on to that appreciation year over year. So it's a great strategy even for a renter that can't buy a home that they would live in themselves.
2 points. Number one, while I'm talking about point number one, Ted, would you bring that chart back up?
Sure.
So I just sold my aunt's house, my great aunt. She bought that house in 1962. It was brand new. And she paid $17,500 for this home in Huntington Beach. If you could take a time machine and go back to 1962, knowing what you know now, looking at this chart, wouldn't you buy the freaking neighborhood?
No. Right.
I'd buy the whole stinking neighborhood. Now, people think, oh, it can't keep on going. It can. We've got 120 years of recorded real estate history showing that houses double approximately, with the exception of this these 4 or 5 years of red, every 10 or so years. And that red, I've got ideas why that took so long. I'm going to revise it. I'm going to do 3 things. So 1, I would buy the neighborhood. We sold her house for $850. Some other homes that have been upgraded on the inside and a little bit more current in decoration, that kind of thing, sold for $1.2 million. Now, we had seen the market slow down a little bit, so we were looking at right around the 900 range and settle on 850, which is not my norm, by the way. Usually get more. But back to this chart. This chart is very telling. We had a couple things going on in many of these 10-year periods. We had some recessions in some of those. We had high interest rates in many of those years. I remember my mom, and I mentioned it before, she refied her home in 93 or 94, I think 94, with a 8.9% interest rate. No, I'm sorry, 11.9% interest rate with a cap of 15.9. People were refining with interest rates like that. And here we are again. So, and then point number 3, you had talked about how real estate outperforms the stock market. Well, think about this. If you put $10,000 in the stock market and it goes up 10%, I'm just doing easy math because math on camera is not a science, right?
Yes.
But $10,000 with a 10% increase, you're going to make $1,000 that year, right? You guys are my math experts.
Yep, that's it.
All right. So $1,000, not bad. But if you take $10,000, I know this doesn't relate to today's market, but if you take $10,000 and put it on a house worth $100,000, and that house goes up 10%. You're getting 10% on the $100,000, which is a $10,000 increase. What does that mean? You just made 100% on your money, right?
Yep.
And you know what? And that is you simplified what all of the math comes down to, because it's really all about leverage. And
Yep.
as long as on average your home prices are going up more than your mortgage rate, you will come out ahead.
Yep.
And the more leverage you get, the better you do in that process. And that's why, kind of going back to that DSCR loan, for investors that have done well over the long haul, your leverage is reducing over time, right? Because you're forced to pay down that principal balance. And which is fine if you're no longer going to be active, if you're retiring and you just want a secure way to do it, that's fine. But if you are looking to build a portfolio, if you're looking to build the overall assets that you have, or that you would ultimately want to leave to your family, you're far better off taking the leverage that the bank will give you, putting it into more property, and continuing to leverage your way up to a bigger and bigger portfolio. So you want to be safe. You want to have safeguards. You want to make sure you have money in the bank to cover bad times. But once you get beyond that security, I really think it's a mistake to pay off real estate. I think you're way better off keeping a loan on it. And I am a mortgage guy, so I do know this is in my own self-interest to promote this. But I would say if I wasn't a mortgage guy, I think it just makes sense to leverage the bank funding.
So take that CR loan. Oh, sorry, Ted, go ahead.
No, you're fine. There's a whole strategy about taking your money out of your home because you want to keep it liquid and protected. Where when you own your home, you still technically have the taxes on it, and if you don't pay it, they can lien it and go against you. So you never really are free and clear where you just don't have a payment or anything due tied to it. And aren't protected. The other thing is, this is unless you're older and you can do a reverse mortgage. Let's say you have a house and you've paid it off, and maybe you're doing really well. You're Craig, you're a realtor in Corona, you're killing it. And then we have a pandemic, like the coronavirus. No pun intended.
Can you do better?
And if somebody does really bad and they lose their income, maybe their job. I mean, here in Vegas, the casino shut down for a year. So people lost their jobs. Oh, let me go refinance my house. Oh, sure. Well, tell me about your income. Crickets. You can't access it. That's a problem. So for that reason alone, I wouldn't want to pay my house off. I'd rather keep that money off. I'd rather have the ability to write a check and pay my house off than actually pay it off. Because I want that money liquid and protected.
Scott, and by the way, Ted, Scott leaned back, and so our heads look a lot bigger than his. I'm going to go back. Back to Scott was saying, take the DSCR loan and buy the neighborhood, right?
Yeah. Now you're playing Monopoly.
That's right. Park Avenue, baby.
That's it. Craig, if I'm coming to Corona this weekend, where am I going?
Let's see.
80s bar.
Huh?
The 80s bar. Keep seeing that on the map.
The 80s bar, yeah. Oh, we used to have a great piano bar. We used to have a piano bar.
Yeah, well, I'm not going there.
I'm gonna say, gosh. I'm gonna say you're gonna go into Orange County. No, I'm just kidding.
Your house. You're having a barbecue this weekend. You're cooking, and we're all coming to your house. That's what we're doing.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. My wife makes a great rack of lamb.
Love it.
Yeah.
Scott, where are we going if we come over to Redondo Beach?
Let's see. I think this week we're going to go to a place called Captain Kidd's. Captain Kidd's is a seafood place that has extraordinary seafood. It's right on the water. It's a combination market and restaurant. It is nothing pretty. You're not going to be blown away by the atmosphere, but you will be blown away by how incredibly fresh the seafood is there. So Captain Kidd's, Redondo Beach, great spot.
Sounds amazing.
Let me revise mine.
Okay.
I'm going to go with a local. I'm going to go with a local favorite. Okay. And they've branched out a little bit. There's one in Orange County. I think there's one in LA. Miguel's or Miguel's Jr. Mike, who's Miguel, but he goes by Mike, and Maria actually live in Corona. They got a sick house in Corona. But they've got Miguel's. They've got 2 Miguel's shops. One's in Dos Lagos. We've talked about Dos Lagos before. The other one's just outside the Sierra del Oro area, and Miguel's Jr. They're kind of like their fast food, and the El Potato burrito with chile verde pork. Oh my gosh,
sounds amazing.
Yeah,
and Scott knows I'm a burrito guy.
Awesome.
In fact, there goes my name. I was going to exit with the show. Darn it. My place, and I have the advantage of controlling the screen here, is located inside one of the best hotel casinos in Wynn.
Nice.
Okay. I know that's where Craig always stays and only stays because he's a baller in Wynn. There's a restaurant called SW Steakhouse or SW. And it's my wife's favorite steakhouse. They have Snake River Farms. I don't know if you've heard of it, but they have American Wagyu. Phenomenal steak. They got caviar. I mean, they got the whole 9 yards. Very nice setting. But Lake of Dreams, which you see here, is outside of it. So you can actually sit on the patio where this guy's sitting and enjoy Lake of Dreams. And they have this big digital show. This is water and a big wall that has a big digital show, light show, and the whole thing. So that is at SW Lake of Dreams. Highly recommend it. Now, the moment everybody's been anxiously awaiting for. Who was the one that was a pioneer in podcasting? It was me. It was me.
Check you out, Joe.
I'm telling you. So if you research the Next Level podcast, okay, this was a health and fitness podcast. I had 2 hosts. I had Marcus Gallen, who at the time owned a NutriShop, as I alluded to earlier. At TJ Watkins, who is a professional bodybuilder and trainer, phenomenal guy. And we had myself. And Craig, you can't tell, but I'm actually a specimen hiding under the shirt and jacket. So that's where we had the Next Level podcast. You can listen to it. We had a whopping 3 episodes before we shut it down, but it still exists.
I could see you coming to pump you up.
I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you. That's another show. You guys want to talk performance enhancement? Let's go.
Very nice.
Scott, what was your back?
So when I learned how to water ski from a guy that wore a sombrero, and I happened to learn how to water ski in Beirut, Lebanon.
Wow.
And so I was on the Mediterranean learning how to ski, and I was pretty young. And there was this guy, and he was on a boat dock, and he wore a sombrero, big, huge sombrero. And so when I went down for my lessons, he is surrounded by a bevy of beautiful women on the dock, and I'm like 10, 11, 12 years old. And so he'd get in the water with you. He had a driver. And when you'd start to fall, he would just kind of pick you up and put you back onto your skis while you learned. That's how good he was. And then, when you were all done, he's got the sombrero on, he's skiing along, sombrero on, helping you go, right? And then now imagine, now you're all done. He has a boat swing around by the dock, and he just skis right up to the dock and sits down between 2 girls on the dock. He's done.
In Beirut.
Now, in Beirut. So that was one hell of a way to learn how to water ski.
Why in my head am I picturing a water show where you've the person on the shoulders, another one's over here, and he's on the ski?
I never saw him do that.
It sounds like that's what it is.
He was an amazing.
He did the pyramid in Beirut. Scott, you could have led with who learned to water ski in Beirut. I mean, the sombrero is that's amazing.
It's a great little story.
Craig,
yeah, very cool.
Tell us.
So I was influenced by the Jesus People movement, which there's a movie called The Jesus Revolution, which was kind of highlighting a couple of key players of that time during the hippie movement. I am not that old enough to be a hippie, but I was a kid. And so the three main characters are Chuck Smith, Greg Laurie, and Lonnie Frisbee. And Lonnie Frisbee used to hitchhike and pick up hippies and preach Jesus to them. And my dad was a hippie. He was driving his big van going down to the Hare Krishna temple for free food. And he sees this guy hitchhiking. I'm going to tell a little bit of a story. He sees this guy hitchhiking and he's like, yeah, long hair, good drugs. I'll pick him up. So he picks this guy up and, hey, you got any drugs? No. Then he's going down the road a little bit farther and he sees longer hair, better drugs. But it was Lonnie and his wife, Connie. Yeah, I know. Lonnie and Connie. This was the one and only time that Connie ever hitchhiked with Lonnie. And as they're getting into the van, the first guy goes, hey, aren't you that guy that I saw you preaching at Calvary Chapel? And my dad's like, oh man, no drugs here. Long story short, my dad invites Lonnie to the Krishna temple. Lonnie says, no. I got a buddy over here that's got a house. I'm sure he wouldn't mind us raiding his icebox. And well, mission accomplished. Lonnie led my father to the Lord, and I was influenced by the Jesus Revolution and Lonnie Frisbee. And by the way, Lonnie stayed in touch with my family for many, many years, even up to his death, and influenced me to come to church. And that's where I got all churchy and met the Lord too. So,
Craig, this is going to be a naive question, but is that a name that people would recognize that are in that environment, I guess?
Well, anybody that knows the Jesus Revolution, in fact, look up Lonnie Frisbee Time Magazine and pull that up.
Okay.
If you go see the movie Jesus Revolution, it's worth the money. It's a very good movie, and it's I don't know if it's historically accurate 100% because I've heard stories from Lonnie that don't totally line up. Funny stories, but yeah, pull up.
He passed away, huh?
Yeah. Pull up. Did you type Lonnie Frisbee Time Magazine?
No, I just typed Lonnie Frisbee and everything started to come time. There we go. There he is. Oh, wow.
Click on that on the left. Now, some would think that's Jesus, but click on the, skip the middle one and click on the one on the right.
What, go back? Oh, yeah, you know what it is? It opened up differently. This one here?
No, next one.
This one.
Yep. Kind of looks like the picture, I think, a little bit. So anyway.
Interesting.
Yeah. So yeah, Lonnie was a huge influence in and Chuck and Greg, of course. Greg's got a huge ministry. If you've ever heard of the Harvest Crusades, that's Greg Laurie. Yeah, lots of history, and I was definitely influenced by the Jesus Revolution.
Awesome.
Very cool.
Super cool.
Well, guys, that's it for the #1 watch show on Corona, California on YouTube. We will see you next week. For Scott Vincent, Craig Yace, I'm Ted Hicks, or DJ Ted Hicks on the podcast. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.